I'm Rick from Carthage Classic Cars. On this video, we're going to cut down this red 69 Charger in the shop. When we get done with it, there really shouldn't be too much left of this car. I know the owner's got a boatload of parts that already arrived. I went over a lot of stuff on the intro of this car, so we're going to really get right into cutting. If you've seen one of the latest videos of mine with the 70 Challenger RT convertible cut down, we were very precise and very careful on what we were cutting with that car. In the grand scheme of things, that car was in really good shape. This one, again, I said it on the intro video, we're pretty much going to replace the whole entire bottom of this car. So realistically, we're going to cut out the whole entire bottom of this car. I haven't cut a B-body car down as far as we are going to take this one. Like I said, we have done other B-body builds. You've seen it on the channel where we replaced 90% of the bottom of the car. So I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about anything, but on the last Charger, the whole entire front end of that car was good, and we left the roof skin and the Dutchman panel. So really this car was going to be cut down a lot more than even that one. So stay tuned. I'm pretty excited about it. I don't think we're going to find too many surprises. The bar's set pretty low for this car. Again, I said down in the intro video that when you buy one and you expect to replace everything, when we do find, I mean, how much more can we find at this point? So let's get to cutting. The plan is going to be, we're going to start with the external sheet metal, what's left of it. So the roof will go first, the quarters, the Dutchman panel, and then we're going to start dissecting our way from the rear of the car all the way to the front. You don't have to do it this way. I do think it's easier to cut the external sheet metal first and then just expose on the inside, but you can work from the front and the rear. It's just the process that I've come up with, and it just feels more natural if I do every car that way for me. So let's get to the cutting, and we'll see what this car looks like when it's all said and done at the end of the video.
I first hopped up in the back of this trunk to go ahead and start perimeter cutting out the roof skin. I will say, just jumping in this trunk, I almost fell through 2 separate times, so we already know this car is very weak. I got to be careful in it, and you're going to see when we remove this rear clip how bad this Charger is on the back of it. It's one of those things, you got to be very cautious when you buy a car like this, and I believe the owner knew there was some surprises. Like I said, he bought this car, it had a vinyl top. He thought he was going to keep the top on the car and everything on the roof area looked good. Upon removing the vinyl top, it exposed so much more damage and rust on this car, which in the grand scheme of things, as far as we're taking this car, I'd kind of not feel as good about myself as a build on this car if we didn't just do the whole thing. I mean, we're doing 95% else of the car. I would have tried to convince the owner to do the roof skin, even if it was in good shape, just so we have the peace of mind that everything on this car is completely brand new. You have to really watch with a car like this. Like I said, I don't know the whole story about how the owner bought it, but I saw a picture of the car when we were talking about me doing the work on the car, and it honestly, even for myself on the picture, didn't look that bad. So you have to look at these cars, and even you have to really dig deep. A lot of these cars, you know, you have to get under them. You have to see how bad they are. And then you have to realize that that's just what you're seeing. Once you start cutting, like I said, this roof skin and these other parts off this car, it's just going to expose more and more damage. Usually they don't get better the further inside you go as far as removing parts and everything else. So just be aware of that. These are one of the cars, and especially these high-end cars that everyone wants. You know, the Chargers are a very desirable model. So saying that, people are asking an arm and a leg for these cars. They're taking them out of it. What almost looks like is lake beds nowadays. You know, these cars have been rusting around. There's no bottom of them. They're bent in half, and people are asking crazy money for them. And what they're trying to hope is your dream that I want this car, and you know, it's not that bad. We'll just throw frame rails in it. When in actuality, this is a major project in the grand scheme of things. And there's not too many of these Chargers that are left that aren't major projects. They're so popular that most of the people have already restored most of them. So as for the video itself, you could see we did get the roof skin off. I am kind of just browsing in there, but I'm kind of just trying to stay on task and just keep cutting, and then we'll come back. We're going to do the rough cutting first, and then we're going to come back later and do more of a fine-tune cutting where we kind of just evaluate other parts, and you'll see that process. The first step, one, like I said, is to get the external sheet metal off. So you saw we got the roof skin off the car. I just perimeter cut it. You could see most of the time I'm using a cutoff wheel. The reason being on the roof skin, and you'll see later in the video when we do the walk around, I did cut the passenger side into the top roof frame just a little bit. I went a little too deep as I wasn't aware the roof was actually rusting away, so the disc was going in deeper than I initially thought. But most of the time we come back and we're just going to weld that up before the end of the video. But most of the time I use the cutoff wheel because I'm trying to make sure we don't hurt anything else underneath. If you see on the Charger, I also left the window support brackets. Be careful when you're cutting those. We're trying not to do more damage than is already done on this car. So if there's a bracket we can keep on here, we're going to keep the bracket. Same thing, I saved them, but in the rear tail panel, there's bracket supports around the tail lights. I cut around those, try not to cut them, and then I'm perimeter cutting this quarter panel. I didn't even have to cut the bottom here. You can see how rusted this side is, and even the bottom right here, this lower area, I'm trying to figure out what I can actually cut because this area is so rusted. Again, if we're seeing rust at this part of the quarter panel, we know the outer rocker behind here is even more gone. Around this door jamb, again, you don't want to go too deep. There is an edge there. I'll go over the door jambs in the future, but it looks like down the road we are going to probably end up replacing the door jambs. But for now, we are going to leave the door jambs completely on the car. On the top area, you can just see I used an air chisel and just removed a couple spot welds. And now we're going to go ahead and I'm going to perimeter cut the wheelhouse. This is going to leave the bottom area exposed. I could come in there with a drill bit, a belt sander, and just kind of remove the rest of the spot welded areas on the car. When you take off whole panels like this, it lets you gain access in different areas on the spot weld. If you've seen other cut down videos of mine, I go over that in great detail. So I like to take the panels off in general, like these quarter panels, in certain sections. You know, like right there's a triangle bend that makes it easy. What I'm trying to do right now, I am gonna save the trunk gutters on the car. They're gonna go back on this car. We're gonna save the trunk hinges. So what I decided to do, again, I cut around the bracket on the tail panel and I just removed the trunk gutter as a complete assembly. We'll come back through later and completely just separate these panels a little at a time. I also decided to save the trunk latch mechanism bracket back here. Come to find out, as I was putting it in the parts bin, the owner already bought one of those. So we did save it. We're not gonna, it took another couple minutes to just remove that. Not a huge deal. We won't go ahead and probably clean it up since he already planned on replacing it. Again, this car came with so many parts. We did kind of inventory it, but it was hard to remember exactly at the time I was cutting what parts I have and what parts I don't have, which throughout this whole process, I am building a list on what the owner needs. So we'll kind of go over it because I already know right now there are going to be some more parts that we are going to have to add to this car. Same thing with these corner reinforcement brackets. These are one of the areas that it's questionable if we're going to keep them. I decided to cut them off because a lot of owners do like to keep them. Sometimes I don't think the owner's going to want in this case, but before we go ahead and throw them in the scrap pile, it takes an extra 2 or 3 minutes just to perimeter cut them out. The floor's already junk, the frame rails are junk, so really cutting them out, it's kind of worth just, okay, here they are in this possibility to keep pile. So that's what we're going to do. You could see underneath there is a bunch of floor that came out with it. Now you could see how bent and twisted the rear of this car already is just from us removing the quarter panels. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to just cut the frame rails. There's nothing else holding the whole back clip of this car. I'm just exposing some of the ductwork that's riveted over the floor, which made this car not look so bad in the grand scheme of things. Now that that's done, you could see I could take that whole section out, one time. So now the whole rear of the car, we're making forward progress. And then that's the idea on these cut downs. We're trying to take it off in big assemblies as best we can and that are manageable. The idea behind the big assemblies is, one, we have reference to go back to if we, need to, how does this go on or how does that go on? That rear clip's probably not going to be a good reference for anything. And then the second reason, and it's probably not going to work for that rear clip also, is in case we need a part that we have to come back and go through. We didn't cut through a bunch of parts and we have 5 billion parts on there. So the larger sections that I try to cut it is just for those two reasons. Now that I completely removed the clip area, the outer skin with the Dutchman panel, we're going to go inside the floor pan, and now I'm going to work from the torsion bar and then start working my way back to meet on that rear section that we already cut. To me, that's a little bit easier than trying to reach over from the back and keep working from the front. I know the floor pans, there's no support under them as far as, the torsion bars in the front, and then in the rear is where the rear frame rails start. So what I like to do on a lot of these cars, we just split the floor. I'll go around the floor bracket, same reason, just in case we have to keep them. I did see them up top in the parts pile, so I know the owner already plans that we're going to do the floor reinforcement braces, but the rest of this floor pan is obviously also junk. So what I'm going to do, just kind of in the grand scheme of things, get the whole floor out, split down the middle, driver's side, and then passenger side. And then we'll come back through over the floor brackets. Those are going to stay on the rocker panels. And then we'll take the air chisel and finish kind of moving all the rest of the spot welds and digging around them. Again, right now with the cutoff wheel, we're just perimeter cutting everything. You can see this whole process right now. I'm going through a ton of these cutoff wheel discs. We're using a bunch of the batteries. I'm cycling through batteries. We have a bunch of them on standby, especially since this cutoff wheel is running nonstop. So what I ended up doing, now that we cut the toe pans out along with the floor pan, you could see I now went around right through the center of the frame rails. I left the two support braces coming down from the package tray, and we removed the center of the floor. So I cut over, you could see the shock tower braces. What that's going to allow me to do now is cut these frame rails right behind the shackle mounts. Right now, I'm unsure if we're keeping the shackle mounts. So what we're going to try to do, you're going to see, we're going to take the frame rail out with the inner wheelhouse. One entire piece. It should drop right out. We're going to leave the top roof structure on there. Again, we're just perimeter cutting, and we'll come back through with the belt sander. A lot of that's going to be done off camera because that is where you're going to spend all the tedious time, hours upon hours just sanding down spot welds, because we're not trying to hurt the inner roof structure and everything else. So on those parts that we know we have to keep, they're going to take a lot longer to go ahead and remove. You could see on this other side, I switched back over to the cutoff wheel. I've been staggering it. A lot of times the plasma is nice. However, with the wheel houses, with the undercoat and everything, it really gums it up, and it really makes cutting it a lot slower. So now that we've done the whole rear frame rails except for this front clip section, I am going to go ahead and start dissecting this. So the initial plan of this whole section was to keep the leaf spring front hanger, but upon looking, and after we started cutting more and more, we scrapped that plan and decided to come back, and we're going to cut everything off this. They were just too rusted and too bent. But now that we got that area mostly removed, we're going to turn our attention to the front end and just kind of now work back towards the torsion bar support. We cut off that front brace. We are going to save that and put that in the parts bin. And then the rest of this front end, what we're going to end up doing, you see I'm taking the plasma cutter, and same reason that we did the whole rear clip. We're going to take this off one complete section. I know the owner and I were talking about maybe keeping the shock tower braces on this car. That's about the only thing on this front clip that isn't bent from crash damage or rusted. Saying that, I think I'm going to talk to him, and I think he's going to be on board that we're going to just go ahead and buy the aftermarket shock towers. By the time it takes the energy to separate these shock tower braces, again, I'll do it if he wants to do it. It might be we need to look at the cost of the shock tower braces. So on this car, when we don't care about originality, that's one of those things we need to compromise. How long does it take for my time, as far as my labor, to remove a part, dissect it without hurting it, sandblast it, prime it, prep it, and reinstall it compared to the new part. And in the grand scheme of things, that's why we're cutting all these major parts off this car. You could see we did remove the upper cowl, and when there was tons of mouse nests in this area, that was one area that looked okay. And the reason the upper cowl came out more than anything else on this car was because the firewall was in such bad shape. And at this point, again, we're trying not to patch anything. The patching, to me, there's a bunch of people that do it out there, but again, we're going by the time it takes to go ahead and put patches in a car and versus the time it takes to just replace a whole panel. I'm very efficient at replacing whole panels with the spot welder. And to make it even better on this car, when two pieces of brand new metal come together with the spot welder, it's even better. It takes even less time. So we have the blast cabinet. I could prep these parts really fast. You're going to see through this car when we start building it, I already talked to the owner, every part is going to be completely sandblasted down to bare metal. We are going to epoxy coat everything, and I believe even us talking, there might be some base coat, clear coat applied to some inner structure of this car. It might be a service that we're offering more of in the future. We're going to experiment it a little bit on this car and see how it goes. But saying that, that's why I feel, it's better to just cut the whole panel out versus trying to put different patches on there. And if you've seen other videos and other builds of mine, when you just install all brand new parts, full length parts on top of each other, it looks like a factory car when it's all done. As far as, you don't see any seam welds, any butt welds anywhere. It just looks so much cleaner. The job looks so much better. This is obviously not a car that we really need to care about any originality. So I think the owners on board, we share the same vision, and that's why this car is here. So I'm very grateful to be working with owners like this. So back to the video. As you can see, I'm cutting the rocker panels out right now. What I did do, and I didn't show it, but I added all this bracing on the door jamb. So initially we weren't going to cut out the firewall of this car, but seeing how bad it was, the owner agreed that we're going to go ahead and cut the firewall out. I added the support bracing on the door jambs to hold them in place. Now we did know we were going to cut the rockers out. So now I'm going to extend the bracing to the back area of the back jamb. That's going to allow us to remove the inner and outer rocker. Initially, when I was doing the jigging on this car, I was wondering if we can just keep the inner rocker. I couldn't see it, and I really didn't climb under it. I figured during the cut down phase, we'll address the situation. If you're going to leave the inner rocker, then there was no need for that door jamb brace. But realistically speaking, at this point, you could see we had to add more bracing. We also added bracing in the back going from the frame jig, and I held up where the wheel houses would weld into that main roof support right there. So that's going to hold the whole front and rear of this kind of upper body area, again preparing it for the whole entire new floor section, firewall, pretty much the whole charger minus some of the internal roof structure. As you could see, removing the rocker panels without completely destroying the door jambs and everything else on this car is a little bit of a challenge. We are first now perimeter cutting everything on these rockers, and we are leaving the internal braces for now on the car. I'm going to come back and separate those just in case we want to save them. Again, I think we are going to replace the internal braces, but it's something else I'll get up with the owner when we do the major order. I am perimeter cutting everything, and then we'll come back through on the second round with a belt sander and finish separating this rocker. The door jambs, I'm trying to keep them. Upon looking at the driver's side door jamb, it looks like it probably won't be kept. I'll go over that on the outro of the video. And same thing with these front A-pillar door jambs. I was going to patch them. The more I get to cutting down here and the more we start looking on the amount of rust now that all the ductwork patching and everything is off the car and now everything's exposed, you could see how rough everything gets, especially out in the light. We are going to do a walk around and you'll see exactly what I'm looking at and why we made the decision to kind of probably replace those in the future. Right now they're going to stay on for jig pieces, but that we'll address that later. And again, a lot of these decisions were made by the owner too. What I'm going to do right now, you can see it's the next day, and I'm coming back through now that everything's been rough cut, and we're going to just start getting the perimeter stuff out. So you can see I'm using the air chisel a lot on this thicker roof metal. I'm able to dig out what we perimeter cut and left. You can see when we remove the whole roof, it's easier now to get on all different angles and get behind it without the parts getting in the way. And what I'm doing, I'm cutting around the spot weld. I'm not ripping through it. If I cut around the spot weld, then I come back through with a belt sander and just kind of touch up that area and clean that little bit of spot weld still left over it. I keep a sharp edge on the air chisel, and I'm just, you could see, hitting it at different angles. It's one of those feel things, like you're not forcing it, you're just letting the air chisel do all the work and just working right around. And you could see once you get a corner up, you just do a little bit at a time, and you can actually, if you look a little bit closer in the back window, you could see where the spot welds are still there. And on the final walk around, you'll see where I came back through with the belt sander and just cleaned up all those areas. Now that we got that off, I am going to remove the inner Dutchman panel. Like I said earlier in the video, we're just looking closer at all these panels, and I could just see the rust holes and the thin metal on this. And again, we just replaced so much else on this car. What's one more panel that we know is brand new? I know the owner did buy the package tray. I'll get with him down the road. The package tray actually wasn't that bad. I know why he bought the package tray, because you'll see once we remove this Dutchman support panel brace on the bottom, there's a rear bracket for the window that goes over the rear package tray. What I haven't gone over on other cut down videos and everything, because most of the times I know the cars really well, but I'm actually have my cell phone out and I'm on AMD's website, and as I'm cutting down these parts, I'm opening up the different parts they make for this car. One, to make sure they do make them. Two, to see where the part is part of the package they offer, because some of the package they offer are multiple panels. And then three, to make sure it's in stock. So that's what I'll do on, like I said, a B-body on a car I don't know. I did find out that what he probably ordered the package tray was for this rear bracket right here that I'm removing. It's a separate piece for this car. That was a quick summary of the basic, going back over and cleaning everything up. Obviously, I spent a lot of time most of the next day coming through this whole car and really fine-tuning it. So now that we got everything pretty much rough cut, let's close out the video and do some final thoughts, do a walk around and everything else on this car and show you what we got.
So we're done cutting down the Charger, and as you can see, we got a big pile of OEM rusted parts. So if anyone's looking for patch panels, here you go. I mean, they're not even good for that. These are going to go in the woods out back right now for a while. What I am not going to do, and I kind of mentioned this on all my videos, including this one, we're not going to throw anything away. Right now is the roadmap on how everything goes, especially on a car I don't do that much of. And this by far is the worst B-body I have ever cut down. Saying that, I mean, to show you just how bad the parts are, I mean, these are the inner rockers. You could see this would have been the stronger part of the car, how rusted they are. I was planning on keeping the leaf spring mounts, but as you could see, they're bent over here. They're rusted through here. And again, same thing with the rockers, both sides. This car, just everything on it was bad. I know even the owner, I think it was worse than he anticipated. And like I said, we're gonna go around, I'll show you the car. But even this area, the firewall, I know he kind of wanted to keep that in the side support. We could just rip it off. That's how rusted it is. This is all gone. It's rusted. It's bent. I mean, again, I know a bunch of people on this, on the first video thought I was kind of overplaying this car and reacting on it. I got a couple messages from guys I know and everything. It's like, it's not that bad. And on video, even when I was doing the editing on the first video, it's like, well, the car's not that bad. But once we start taking it off and you see every panel has rust on it, you could see how bad it gets. So this is the pile. This is what we cut off the car. Like I said, it's going to load up right now. Let's go take a look at the car now that you see what most of a 69 Charger looks like stacked together. So this is it. This is the 69 Charger now completely cut down. Again, we already knew, and the owner did for the most part know that the floor pans front to rear were gonna be, I mean, the whole bottom of the car, front to rear was gonna be replaced, including the rocker panels. I mean, there were surprises like I showed you in the firewall. I mean, even the Dutchman area, we thought we were gonna keep a lot more. Saying that, even when the owner, before he brought the car to me, he bought it, it looked like it had a vinyl roof on it, and he was thinking the roof was actually gonna be salvageable, and you could see cutting the roof off with all the surface rust underneath is the right call. Now, saying that, again, some people on the first video messaged me and commented and said it wasn't that bad. There's a perfect example of why you shouldn't go buy something sight unseen. And even with these Mopars, like, I still think, again, I don't know what the owner paid for this car or anything, but the condition, if the price matched the car right, this is what I feel is, I think, the best way to start when the owner's intentions are to have pretty much a brand new 69 Charger without any hidden rust. You get cars with, you know, some work done on the outside that look pretty decent, even if the frame rails are pretty solid. I always see the Chargers and stuff rusting from the inside in these corners and everything else. So at least with this one, yes, it looks really bad right now, but in the grand scheme of things, when it's done, it should be a brand new 69 Charger. Also want to address the #1 comment question I get all the time on all these videos. Why not just buy all the parts and build a brand new 1969 Charger? Why are we saving the parts that we are saving? So there's companies out there, everyone knows them, that makes, they don't make Charger full bodies, but they'll do 69 Camaros, Novas. There's other popular cars that, you know, they have bodies for. So saying that, again, I build those cars here too. Saying that, they also come with their own VIN number, and those companies are authorized to reproduce cars to be able to be registered on the road. VIN swapping a car, as far as us building a brand new 69 Charger using every part and then taking the VIN numbers off of them and slapping the VIN number from this car onto the brand new car, is illegal. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to restore everything possible on this car. And how I look at, we're not putting another Charger back on the road. We are just gonna restore what's left of this Charger. So the parts that are able to stay on there are gonna stay on there. And then again, it's gonna be the same Charger. Now, I will also say, talking to owner, we are not trying to pass this off for an all original Survivor car. I mean, nothing, actually, the owner is gonna probably, I think, be happier telling everyone that this car was put together all with aftermarket parts. It was going to be sandblasted, stripped down, and this car, hopefully when we get done, we're going to try to build this car better than any kind of factory 69 Charger. We're talking more spot welds, more MIG welds. We're adding more support to it, and we're going to just put more attention to detail than the car would have got just running down the assembly line with someone who did, you know, 200 of them a day. So that's kind of my idea on that. Also, with keeping the roof structure in here, especially this area, it really does save us a lot of time to be able, I guess we will have to replace some of the corner pieces, but realistically, what we're keeping, knowing our window channels are set right, our doors should be set right, the front windshield, all this stuff, it takes a lot of time to go there and measure, and then we really have to have the front and rear window in there. And there's just so many things that could go wrong with the car being crooked. You almost have to build the whole car, square everything off left and right, and then you have to assemble the external sheet metal and then pull it all back apart. It's so time consuming that I feel like the hard part's already done on this car. And honestly, if the car's worse than this, I mean, man, it really is an uphill battle. Now, saying that, this car is still bad. Looking around and walking around this car, you could see we are gonna have to do these rear corners. The front door jambs, both of them are completely rotted out. Those are really gonna have to be replaced too. This door jamb we did prep, it looks really good. Again, there's a couple rust holes here and there. And on the other side, that door jamb with the damage on the hinge, the striker backing plate, and the damage on the rust on the bottom and everything, that door jamb will also have to be replaced. So even the A-pillars on this car have signs of rust up here and everything else. We're gonna know for sure after blasting, but realistically, what I plan is we're probably gonna just be keeping the A-pillars on both sides and this whole door jamb assembly and this side cowl, I guess they're gonna call it on a Mopar, is gonna be replaced. We do wanna keep it on same thing with the rear. Like this jamb's gonna be, like I said, kept on there, but on the other side, we will remove that door jamb. But you're gonna see on the video, we'll go ahead and we're gonna start with the rockers and we'll start with the floor, the whole entire front, bottom of the car. These are good guide pieces where I don't have to build any more jig pieces. I could sit there and put my rocker in, and you know from the opening video where our rocker goes here, and then there's our top of our rocker to set our angle and everything. And that angle is gonna set the bottom door gap. So a lot of this stuff is kept, we cut them down to get the most exposure to blast everything and not waste the owner's money on blasting stuff we know we're gonna replace. That's why the whole rear end of the car is gone. There's nothing there that is worth keeping, but all these pickup points should let us build the whole back of the car. These points right here, the jams and everything else, I feel it's gonna be beneficial now to keep them on the car. We're not gonna spend a lot more time removing this off the A-pillar down the road. But that will be done after the firewall's sitting in place or we have bracing across of it and everything else is held in. You could also see from the video how we did the jig points. I told you we're gonna do some kind of outriggers. We'll call this an outrigger. It's basically temporary. It's jigged off this car where it was coming. I mean, and you see the idea is to keep the car mostly solid. I mean, again, we're not gonna go ahead and try to drive this thing down the road, but for the most part, this car, what's left of it, is held into place where it's supposed to go. So that's kind of the idea on why I build the cars the way I do. I feel that we have to be efficient on this. I see other people who build cars, and again, there's nothing wrong with it, but they'll replace one panel at a time here or there. This car, it's just not feasible. I mean, you would have thousands upon thousands of hours into doing this, where, like I said, we do a mass cut down. This is not easy work, but we don't have radical amounts of time into this, you know. So saying that, we are trying to be very efficient as we can to basically build a brand new version of this 69 Charger where we know there's no rust. So stay tuned. I rambled on a little bit on this video. I'm gonna try to keep these videos a little bit shorter. The next video, we are gonna wet blast this car. Actually, it was awesome. I know the owner's already seen pictures of this car and where it's at. He actually said, we were talking about at least the wet blasting phase shouldn't be too radical. I mean, there's not too much to wet blast here. We're gonna go ahead, we're gonna clean all this up. We're gonna get an epoxy primer. I'm super excited about this Charger. Like I said, this is, I build all kind of cars, and like I said, I do like looking at, this is my wheelhouse. Like I love these kind of cars, but this to me is one of my favorite cars of all time. My dad had a red 69 Charger as his first car, so I kind of grew up, you know, hearing about these cars and just knowing what these cars were from day one. So this right here is like one of my favorite cars, and I'm very grateful the owner gave me the opportunity to be able to build it for him. So saying that, if you like this kind of stuff, please check out my Facebook page, Carthage Classic Cars. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It really helps us out and really gets more cars like this to come into the channel. I like to showcase something different all the time. Again, it's been a while since we've done a full build Charger on the channel. So I'm Rick from Carthage Classic Cars, and we'll see you on the next video.